Very good to be here, and very good to be, in many ways, to be able to welcome the Labour movement back to Dorset again after yet another year, and a difficult year. But it's a source of great pride for me now to be here as the Employment Minister. It's one of the great jobs in government for a Labour MP, and it's great for me, given that I represent the area that you can see just over there on the other side of the river. I represent the estate where the martyrs worked. I've been to the sawmills and seen the slogans that are still there in the sawmills that the martyrs chalked up. The one that I think we should be remembering at this particular time of recession, of acute difficulty for individuals going through unemployment, but also political difficulty for us and for our movement, is the one that I can still see in my mind of unity is strength. And the job of Employment Minister, I know Paul wrote a little bit about it in the Mirror yesterday, and that perhaps it should be a heavier hitter than my slender self. What I would say to him and what I would say to you is that there is no bigger priority for this government than how we respond to this recession and how we respond to the rising numbers of unemployed. I attend Cabinet alongside Yvette Cooper, the Secretary of State, who, previous Secretaries of State for Work and Pensions have spent a lot of time, understandably and rightly, focusing on the pension side of things. Right now, both Yvette and I have an absolute focus on the problems of employment and of unemployment. Both of us also attend the National Economic Council every week, which brings together the senior figures in government to keep a watching brief on how we respond to what's going on in the economy. And then as part of my job, I also have that ongoing dialogue and relationship with the trade unions. So Brendan is in my office at least once a month, and I've been there just over a month, and he's been in twice already, as well as several conversations on the phone, so that I can make sure I understand what trade union members, as represented by their trade unions on the TUC General Council, are saying to Brendan, and we have that ongoing relationship. And obviously, one of the messages that I want you to take away is that you need to think for yourselves whether or not in a year's time you want an employment minister in the Department for Work and Pensions that will still welcome Brendan Barber into his office or her office. Now, this recession has clearly something that's started in the mortgage markets of Mississippi. It's blown like a whirlwind through and across the globe. We are all suffering from it, and I'm looking forward to hearing from our comrades from Germany to understand how they've been coping and dealing and responding to the recession. The global recession is costing jobs, and for me as a politician, for any of us as public representatives, not for a second should we lose sight of the individual crises that causes families and individuals up and down the country as unemployment continues to rise. Now, it is continuing to rise. We saw the largest quarterly increase for decades in the quarter that finished to May, and those were figures that I had to respond to this week. Less reported is that the rise in claimants of job seekers allowance was its lowest rise that we've seen for over a year. The numbers leaving job seekers allowance, 340,000 left job seekers allowance last June. That was the highest number we've seen for over a decade. What we don't know is whether or not we're starting to see recovery, or whether or not we will have a double dip. And I'm not going to get into any kind of prediction for you. But in amongst the doom and gloom, there are one or two chinks of light and glimmers of hope for us to hang on to. But for us as a movement, there's a set of short-term things we need to be doing, and then there's a set of other things over the medium to long term we need to do as we think about recovery. In the shorter term, we're building the capacity of Job Centre Plus. I'm looking forward to having my drink with Mark Soroka shortly and discussing from the PCS's point of view how we're doing in building that capacity. We've added 10,000 more staff and 6,000 more staff as a result of the pre-budget report. We're recruiting another 10,000 now, so that we can at least try and provide the best possible service to people as they come in to unemployment and get them their money as quickly as possible. The turnaround time for those applications for benefit remains extremely strong. But we also need to personalise a service that's largely configured around low levels of unemployment, people having a really tough job getting back, but because of their own personal problems rather than because of a labour market problem. We've now got a serious labour market problem. Although we've got still significant numbers of vacancies, they are falling fast as unemployment continues to rise. So my challenge is also to reconfigure that service and what those people do. We've got to assert the place of the public sector as an employer, and the place of the public sector as an employer against a political attack from our opponents who oppose the fiscal stimulus, a fiscal stimulus that not only has allowed us to do things like take on those extra 16,000 workers in Job Centre Plus, but has allowed us to continue to sustain funding in my last job in respect of schools, and continue to expand the number of teachers and classroom assistants that are working to try and ensure that we've got the skills necessary to be able to respond to recovery as and when it comes. And I can't underestimate or understate the importance of public sector workers protecting public sector pensions and resisting that attack from the other side, who would cut public spending and undermine it with a set of priorities, as Paul has outlined, that would be completely different to ours. We've got a short-term problem this summer. Large numbers of young people leaving education, coming into a labour market, a much tougher environment for them to find jobs than in previous years. We are expanding the number of apprenticeships. We've got 35,000 extra apprenticeships as part of a response to that. I will also make some announcements in the next couple of weeks around the £1 billion Future Jobs Fund, which will create 150,000 brand new jobs, largely in the public sector again, and 100,000 of those ring-fenced for young people, so that in particular we're giving them some opportunities over the next couple of years to carry on and working in the knowledge that the best way of getting work is by having work. Your best chance of getting a job is if you've already got a job. So we have a responsibility to try and create that work for people. Over the longer term, we have to prepare for recovery. We can't get trapped into thinking that this is simply about crisis management. This is simply about how we deal with this huge problem around rising unemployment. In April, the Peter Mandelson's Department for Business Innovation and Skills published what we love to call NINJA in government, the New Industry, New Jobs strategy. NINJA sets out for us some of our priorities in terms of the areas of growth that we want to see for our economy, so that we're in a good position to compete in what we've clearly seen through this recession and indeed through global pandemic flu that's starting to hit people that we all know. The world is a much smaller place. We've got to make sure that future jobs are in the industries that add value. So Ed Miliband's publication this week in respect of green jobs, the Digital Britain report that Stephen Carter did in respect of the creative industries, both those sectors hugely important for us here in the southwest of England. Advanced engineering and technology, and making sure that we don't take our eye off the ball in terms of science skills as people carry on their journey through education, and taking advantage of the increased demand for education right now to have a particular focus on science to give us a technology base to build from. In all of this work, we need the support of trade unions and trade unionists. We can't win all of these arguments on our own. In respect of the skills agenda that I've touched on, the role of trade union reps, trade union learning reps in workplaces up and down the country is one of the other great achievements of the last 12 years, that we've been able to develop those roles. And that network is of huge importance to us in workplaces up and down the country in planning forward as to how we build skills and where the skills gaps remain. And I would finish by just returning to the unity is strength theme. Together we can win that argument. Together we can win the argument for public spending. We can win the argument to retain a strong, dynamic public sector that's willing to intervene at really tough times like the ones we're going through now. And we can win an election that is fought on the basis of jobs and fought on a test for whatever political party you support of how much they prioritise getting Britain back to work as we come out of this recession. Thank you all very much.